Salvador to demand that this person be put on the plane and sent home. That's the problem right now. I mean, like Eddie says, we're in a constitutional crisis. I don't know if we're there yet, but we're approaching one. And candidly, on the political side of this, Donald Trump would like nothing more than all day, every day to talk about this issue. He feels like he's winning every time he's talking about immigration and illegal immigrants. It distracts from the economic message that is really causing him enormous problems right now. But right now, the president is not facilitating the return of this individual. And I suspect the Supreme Court is going to have to step in again and offer further guidance as to how this man should be returned.
Yeah, Kilmer Abrego Garcia, Eddie, is one example. Last night, though, the president again called undocumented immigrants as a group monsters that are raping and slaughtering Americans and trying to destroy our country. Of course, that's despite actual data that shows undocumented immigrants commit violent crime at a much lower rate than U.S. citizens. Trump also played at that rally a highly produced video of detainees being sent to El Salvador that's become familiar to most of us. But it was accompanied with a soundtrack, and I want to play that. The reaction to that, as you can see, cheers and chants of USA. Is the message that they're sending with that video law and order? Or, Eddie, is it something else?
Chris, law and order has always carried with it an ugly underbelly. As a phrase, this is hearkening back to the 1920s. Remember, the Johnson-Reed Immigration Act was basically written by the KKK. There is a deep nativist and racist undertow to what we're seeing and what we're hearing. The facts do not matter. There is a kind of a replay of the 100% Americanism that defined the 20s and the 30s. And we need to understand that for what it is. We can give them data all day long, Chris. It doesn't matter, because something more visceral, something uglier, something, dare I say, evil, is animating this. And unless we name it as such, we will find ourselves complicit with horrors. I'm speechless in some ways.
Well, Congressman, the president also didn't hold back when asked about going after his political enemies. And here's what he said about that.
You are the president now, and I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
No. People that I think are dishonest. It's not that I don't even know most of them. They're people that I think are dishonest.
These people made you angry.
No, it's not anger. These are people that I think are very dishonest.
So, I mentioned at the top the quiet part out loud. This is at the heart of everything, his willingness to unleash the power of his presidency on anyone he chooses for simply being, in his opinion, dishonest. How has that threat changed the way, do you think, that the federal government and, frankly, everybody in the wake of Donald Trump operates these first 100 days?
Well, to say that he's not going after people is ridiculous. I mean, he issued an executive order a couple weeks ago urging Chris Krebs, who worked for Donald Trump in the Homeland Security Department running CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, and Miles Taylor, who worked in the Homeland Security Department. He's urging that they be investigated. In the case of Chris Krebs, you know what his crime was? He said that the election, after the 2020 election, he said it was the most safe and secure election in American history. He was fired by tweet abruptly afterwards. That's why they're going after him. It's having a chilling effect. He's clearly using the office of the presidency to pressure, in this case, the FBI or the Justice Department, to go after a person he considers a political enemy who's who's committed no crime. He just did his job. So this is having, I think, an enormously chilling effect. Look at these law firms and universities. There's so many of them are scared to death. and they're being forced to negotiate with this administration out of fear that they're going to be cut off. So, and who knows who else he's going to go after, going forward. It's this is new territory for all of us.
Right.
And in light of that, Eddie, let me ask you a question. I'm guessing you may have gotten it, but I certainly get it a lot from people who are very concerned about what they're seeing. And the question is, can we count on the Supreme Court to protect us? What's the answer to that, do you imagine?
I have no idea. John Roberts is reportedly an institutionalist. I get this question all the time too, Chris. He's an institutionalist, as we've described him over these years. But we see a fundamental challenge to the institution of the Supreme Court. We see a fundamental, direct attack on the court system as such. Up to this point, the courts have played an important role, but we know that it's slow, it's deliberate, it's going to take time. But in the meantime, we've seen what they can do in 100 days. We can see what they can do in 100 days. So the Supreme Court cannot save us. Although it will play an important role, we're going to have to save us. And the question is, do we have the strength and the imagination to do so?
Well, I mean, that's, I guess, my question, Eddie, where that goes, because as you look at the polls, there is a clear indication that it's not just that more and more American voters who are taking part in these polls are unhappy with the economy, that they're unhappy with maybe the lengths to which some of the immigration movements have gone. They seem to be concerned about what's happening in the country writ large. But what do they do with that? What does history tell us that any one person can do? Because I think implicit and sometimes explicit, when I get the question that you get as well, it's like, I feel helpless.
Right. Well, I get this a lot, too. I mean, we're not helpless. I mean, I think, of course, there are elections, the midterms are coming, but that's not the only thing we can do. David Brooks, the conservative columnist for the New York Times, has written about this. We saw what Governor Pritzker had just said recently, a couple of days ago. Americans are going to have to mobilize and organize to push back if we're going to defend our democracy. And that may involve something as dramatic, Chris, as a general strike. Something to call attention to, in some ways, halt what these folk are doing. They're literally dismantling government right in front of our eyes. They're literally, absorbing power. Something to call attention to, in some ways, halt what these folk are doing. They're literally dismantling government right in front of our eyes. They're literally, absorbing power. Something to call attention to, in some ways, halt what these folk are doing. They're literally dismantling government right